Sleep. It's one of those things you only truly respect after a few nights, without it kind of like your spine or Wi-Fi. You can skip a meal and still function. But skip sleep, and your brain starts behaving like you left it in another room. It's not just us humans either. Pretty much every creature on this planet, from majestic whales to that weird bug in your bathroom, has to sleep in some way. Sleep is supposed to be the universal, "Okay everyone, shut up, we're rebooting" button. But here's the plot twist. Some animals act like they didn't get the memo. They don't just flop down, close their eyes, and drool on a pillow like we do. They don't look sleepy, and if you watch them long enough, you'll start to think, wait, do these guys ever sleep? Or are they running on some kind of solar energy plan that I wasn't offered? So the big question is, are there animals that never sleep? And if so, how on earth do they live? Do they get grumpy? Do they snap at their kids like we do after pulling an all-nighter? Before we slap a certified insomniac label on any species, we need to define what the heck sleep even is. Because if we don't, we re-just accusing innocent frogs and fish of being workaholics when they might actually be napping in ways we read too silly to notice. Biologists say that sleep is when the body slows down, reactions get weaker, and the brain kind of turns down the volume. In mammals like us, we've got two famous types: deep sleep, when you could fire a cannon outside and we'd just roll over, and REM sleep, where our eyes wiggle around and the brain throws a surprise party full of dreams that make no sense. But here's the catch. Not every creature has a brain complex enough for these sleep stages. Take jellyfish, no brain, just a floating wobble of vibes. How do you even ask a jellyfish if it's asleep? You can't, so scientists watch their behavior instead. If it pulses more slowly, drifts down, responds slower when poked, and needs extra quiet time after being disturbed, then yeah, that's a sleep-like state. But then we run into the specialists, the animals that have turned sleep into something so weird it makes your circadian rhythm cry. Let's start with one of the most famous so-called never sleepers, the bullfrog. For decades, textbooks said, with full confidence, bullfrogs do not sleep. This was based on a 1960s study where researchers poked bullfrogs and noticed they reacted quickly even when resting. So they concluded, no reduced responsiveness, no sleep. Fast forward to modern times, and scientists are saying, yeah, about that. It's becoming clearer that bullfrogs probably do have real rest states, just not the kind of deep sleep we have. They're light sleepers, always ready to jump at danger, like someone who lives in a noisy apartment with thin walls. So no, bullfrogs are not immortal caffeine monsters. They're just very on edge, relatable. And then there's fish. Many don't even have eyelids, so they look permanently awake. They might just hover in place, sway a bit, and stare into the void. At night, many fish reduce their movement, tuck themselves into coral crevices, and slow their metabolism. That's their version of sleep no pajamas, just underwater low-power mode. But certain sharks have a special problem. They need to keep moving so water flows over their gills. If they stop swimming, they stop breathing. So what do? They partially shut down, reduce brain activity, and kind of glide on autopilot. One part of their nervous system says, we rest now, and another part says, we keep the engine going, or we die, thanks. And then we meet the true sleep hackers of the ocean, dolphins and whales. These legends sleep with one half of their brain at a time. Literally, one hemisphere goes into deep sleep, while the other stays awake enough to swim, surface for air, and watch for predators. One eye closes, the other keeps watch. If you've ever sat in a painfully long Zoom meeting, nodding off but still somehow hearing your name and going, yes, I agree, you've tasted about 3% of what dolphins do automatically. Now, let's zoom down to the tiny crew insects. Insects don't have a neocortex and don't do REM like us, but they still need to rest. Honeybees, for example, get sleepy at night. Some literally flop onto a flower and snooze there. Their body temperature drops and their movement slows. It looks funny, but biologically, that's sleep. Fruit flies are the rock stars of sleep research. They have proper sleep cycles, and if you keep them awake by shaking their containers yes, that S, a real experiment, they show all the signs of sleep deprivation. They become less healthy and their lifespan shortens. Surprise, even a brain the size of a speck has its limits. But, plot twist, some lines of fruit flies naturally sleep very little and still live a long time. They carry gene variations linked to short sleep, no problem. That S where scientists get interested in things like the DEC2 gene in rare humans who function great on 4 to 5 hours of sleep. Meanwhile, you and I try that for 2 nights and suddenly forget how doors work. Now, here's where it gets truly spicy. Sleeping in the wild is dangerous. It turns you into a soft, unaware snack. So evolution had to compromise. A lot. Many species had to invent creative ways to rest while staying ready to run for their lives. Take migratory birds. Some of them fly thousands of kilometers across oceans with nowhere to land, so they nap while flying. Let me repeat that. They sleep while flying. They shut down one hemisphere of the brain at a time, keeping just enough control to not crash. There are species where males during mating season sleep something like 42 minutes a day for weeks and still zip around like caffeinated maniacs. Then there are hypervigilant birds like ducks. Ducks at the edge of a group sleep with one eye open and half their brain awake, watching for danger, while those safely in the middle of the group knock out fully. It's a rotating night shift built into the species. Humans, by the way, have a tiny echo of this, the first night effect. When you sleep in a new place and can't sleep deeply, that's your brain running a half-guard mode. Congratulations, your brain is sometimes a nervous duck. Now, let's talk about the big kids. Elephants. In the wild, African elephants sleep about 2 hours a day on average. Sometimes, they go up to 48 hours with almost no sleep at all while traveling. Zoo elephants, meanwhile, sleep longer. Why? Because in captivity, nobody's trying to eat them. Life is easier, so they can afford longer naps. The moral of the story: safety buys you sleep. Even plants have daily rhythms. At night, leaves droop and photosynthesis slows. It's not sleep, but it is a rest cycle. Even trees go, all right, sun's gone. We'll try again tomorrow. So after this whole zoo of weirdness, what's the verdict? Is there any animal that truly never sleeps? As far as science knows today, nope. Every known animal has some form of rest where activity and responsiveness drop, and where a lack of that rest messes up their health. Some species can cut sleep down to an insane minimum, but not forever. So what do we, fragile humans, learn from all this? First, we are absolutely not dolphins, elephants, or migratory birds. Our brains are highly dependent on solid deep sleep and REM. That's when we consolidate memories, process emotions, and basically keep our operating system from crashing. Chronic sleep deprivation in humans leads to everything from brain fog and mood swings to higher risks of serious health problems. Yes, a few rare humans with special genes can function well on 4 to 5 hours of sleep, but they are rare. The rest of us try to copy them and just become fruit flies in denial, buzzing around half-conscious. By studying these extreme sleepers, scientists can understand how flexible sleep really is. Maybe one day we'll learn to treat sleep disorders better, or design lifestyles that don't fight our biology. But that day is not today. Today, dolphins sleep with half a brain, birds nap in midair, and elephants sleep for 2 hours a day. And we read the species that stays up to late scrolling videos and then Googles do animals ever sleep. With dark circles under our eyes, so no, there are no immortal insomniac animals. There are just a bunch of creative survival strategies that make our 80-hour recommendation look like a luxury spa package. And if there's one takeaway, it's this: sleep is negotiable in style, but not in existence. As for you, unless you've secretly grown wings and half-brain sleep, maybe don't use dolphins as your benchmark. Put your phone down, close both eyes, and give your poor human brain the full system shutdown it desperately deserves. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. See you next time.